It's a fairly famous thing that Alanis Morissette dated Dave Coulier from the show, the Bob Saget show. Now I'm
Full House.
Full House. That's your show.
Oh, yeah. Loved it.
I didn't watch it much. I mean, some. I was of the age, just 25. And this song by Alanis Morissette, You Oughta Know, talks about a boyfriend, a lover. And she puts a line in the song that she went down on him in the theater. And the rumor for a long time was that's Dave Coulier she's talking about from Full House. So Dave recently was asked about that and said, oh yeah, that's about me. And he knew instantly that it was about him and what their relationship is today.
I'm driving in Detroit, and I hear the hook for You Oughta Know come on the radio, and I'm like, wow, this is a really cool hook. And then I start listening to the lyrics going, ooh, oh, no. Well, I can't be this guy. And I went to the record store, bought the CD, and I went and I parked on a street, and I listened to the whole record, and there was a lot of familiar stuff in there. And I thought, I think I may have really hurt this woman. Years later, we reconnected. She couldn't have been sweeter. And I said, what do you want me to say when people ask me about this relationship? And she said, you can say whatever you want. So she was really sweet about it.
So he says they had reconnected, and she was okay at that point.
I think she went down on me and the usual suspects. If I recall, we were seeing the usual suspects.
The underrated Gabriel Byrne.
That's a pretty good,
flick.
Really good
flick.
Yeah, that's the one I pretend to like.
You pretend to like it.
I fell asleep.
Exactly.
I didn't know. Everybody walked out and said, "What a surprise!
What a twist!"
Talk about.
I remember we were both confused.
I hope she didn't do that at the surprise twist ending for Dave Coulier. He probably missed it too. He probably didn't know about it either.
She saw less of the usual suspects than you.
That's right. That's right.
I can't remember if it was that or Toy Story. She went down on me so much in the theater.
That should be the next. She should have another song out about which movie it was.
Was it Apollo 13?
Here it is.
Did radio stations censor that? Because I know I think there's the F word in the uncensored version.
Oh, is that right?
They definitely had to cut that out. But did radio stations censor that?
I was on a station that played it. We kept it in. As I recall, we kept it in. They play this a lot when I'm in the gym.
Was it Braveheart?
Long movie.
Yeah.
Freedom!
Yeah.
In the gym, when I'm rowing a lot, I'll hear it. And I always think about Dave Coulier. Every time I hear it, I think about.
You don't think about her?
Well, her too, but mostly Dave Coulier. I picture him, don't you? I picture him sitting in a theater, with his head back, looking at the top of the screen, and her there. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's just what I get out of it. That's what I always think of there.
I know it wasn't Crimson Tide.
Have I seen Crimson Tide? Did
I see Crimson
Tide?
Tide?
I like Crimson Tide? That's that Denzel movie.
I remember we said down Periscope a lot. I'm not sure where that came from. It's kind of a running joke.
Man, that's a running joke between us. Weird. Could it have been Crimson Tide? Pretty good movie. That's another pretty good movie.
Surface.
I like it. I like
the Usher's here.
The lights are coming up, honey.
Hey.
Honey.
I like Crimson Tide.
I can see what you guys are doing.
Now, he said that on a podcast, and Chris Demm said something about a week ago that has set with me. He thinks people now just say stuff on podcasts to get their name back out there, to get it talked about,
well,
even if it's not true.
Yeah, not a week goes by when something outrageous doesn't say. Somebody said,
yes,
such and such said something about this.
That's right.
And to me, I would take it with a grain of salt. Now, that sounded almost legit.
Yeah, I agree.
Coulier seemed to be telling a real story.
Yes. I just
heard, he wasn't trying to embellish it or make himself look wilder or crazier.
Remember the linebacker from the Bears? What was his name? Urlacher. He said on a podcast last week, he thinks that a lot of NFL players are faking CTE so they can get money from the league. He thinks that they don't really have the concussion syndrome, or at least they don't have it from playing football. He said, I've never had an issue with it, and I banged heads, for years. And then he said, I think a lot of players just say it so they can get extra money in their pensions and whatnot. maybe true. And then, but I thought, is he just saying that to make headlines for his own podcast? You know, because everybody does a podcast now, of course. You know that.
Well, and he doesn't know really what the future holds. He could be fine now, and
right.
2 years from now, feel totally different.
Yeah, but anyway, he was saying, I'm not sure about that, but. Every time I hear anything now on a podcast, I think of what Chris Demm said because he's so much smarter than I am. Chris Demm. No, you are. No, you are. And you always say stuff, and I'm like, God, I never even thought of that. Like last week when you told me that people are always like high and driving, or like all the painters in your house are usually high. Mm-hmm. I had an email yesterday that came up again. Like, who smokes the most dope when they're building a house? Mm-hmm. And painters. I mean,
painters will tell you it's the painters.
And I'm so naive. I'm like, are you serious? Are people actually smoking marijuana while painting a house?
Not the carpenters. It's not the plumbers. Not the electricians.
Not nearly as much. Because that's real work. Yeah. I mean, that's like you'll notice
a little more precise.
Yeah, got to be more precise. Well, I got a great email from the P1 who said, well, I'll tell you why they're all high. He said he used to do it because it's an awful job. You have to be high to do it. You're hot. It's messy. It's nasty. The fumes. And he's just like, look, you got to get high or drunk. He said you have to be one or the other to paint a house. And so he said, I recently had my house painted. I started by giving the guys a case of beer. Looks great. The place looks great.
That's a different kind of tip.
And he just kept them coming. He's like, I gave him a case of beer and just kept it coming, and it couldn't have turned out better. What a relationship. But that was another thing.
Maybe that's how you get a pool.
Maybe. Maybe. Of course,
put a keg out there.
Might be screwed up by the end of it. I don't know.
Yeah,
the deep end is the shallow end and vice versa.
I'm cooling on the pool, as I told you. I just don't.
Yeah.